Want to find your seat for the event of your choice but can't get one that fits your desire or your budget? Well, my friends, SeatGeek has you covered. SeatGeek is the official sponsor of the Snake Sports Talk Show. With a list of over hundreds of events to choose from, SeatGeek will assure you that you won't miss your seat with the amazing view of your choice at the most affordable price. Whether it's looking for your best seat in the house of your favorite sports team, finding live concerts to get you closer to your favorite artist, or enjoying your spot at your favorite live shows, comedies, and more, SeatGeek has it all just for you. Go online to SeatGeek.com or download the app on your mobile device through Google Play and the App Store. And as a special offer before checkout, use promo code SNAKESPORTS and save yourself $20 off of your purchase of your first ticket and experience why SeatGeek is the most trusted ticketing app for your next event. Remember, that's SeatGeek.com and download the app on your phone with promo code SNAKESPORTS for $20 off and find your seat with SeatGeek.
And now, broadcasting live from Las Vegas, the Snake Sports Talk Show with Jake Silva starts now.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We are live on a Monday here, fully refreshed from the NFL Draft. This is the Snake Sports Talk Show, wherever and however you may be watching and listening. Thanks for making us a part of your lovely and beautiful evening. We're live on all platforms known to man, Roku, iHeartRadio, and all social media platforms. Like, follow, subscribe, hit the bell button to keep you up to date on future and past shows. We're 2 subscribers away from the lucky 600. We just hit 400 over the weekend. Please, guys, let's get us to 600 subscribers. I'm super excited about it. But I'm finally fully refreshed and recovered from the NFL Draft. What a party, what a weekend. Absolutely unbelievable. The playoffs have been absolutely electrifying in both the NBA and the NHL, and there's so much I have to talk about. All right, so let's talk about what we've witnessed over the weekend with the NFL Draft. And by the way, kudos and congratulations to all the players who had gotten drafted. Congrats to all the players who got signed undrafted. And congrats to all the teams and all their picks. Now the season is on. We know this every single year that there are going to be truths. There are going to be some underlying understandings about a lot of these teams' situations. But we can honestly admit this draft was one for the books because quarterbacks, at least 6 of them, were taken in the top 15. 6 of them. And there was so much smoke that was in the air because of all the talks of potential quarterback moving up, potential teams that are going to basically take a gamble and go and get a quarterback. But there was also an entire overhaul of offensive line, wide receivers. This draft was absolutely amazing. And again, it pivoted to offense, which was one of the biggest things. You already knew right off the bat, the Chicago Bears were willing to pivot to offense because they're sick and tired of losing every single year and having the narrative of, well, they're just mediocre and they're horrible at offense, especially quarterback, and they haven't really gotten true playmakers. Now, those days are done. They threw out the 1950s television out the balcony, out the window, and now the Bears look like they're going to build some relevance. Look at the Washington Commanders. They flirted years ago with trying to match the qualifying offer with Lamar Jackson before he took the contract extension with Baltimore. So they wanted a Lamar Jackson-esque type player. They got one in Jaden Daniels. I honestly do think that Dan Campbell will toughen him up to where he is a franchise quarterback. But they've got so much on defense. They got a lot on their offensive weaponry, probably outside of tight end, but they're going to work on it. But in the end, Washington wants to win right now. They want to be in a position to where they want to compete not only in their division, but they want to compete in the NFC as a whole. And Adam Peters and Dan Quinn, you felt exactly their presence when they took Jaden Daniels at number 2. New England, this was a anti-Belichick draft for Gerard Mayo and the entire Patriots front office. They go get Drake May. But not only from that, but they went and got offensive weapons. Finally, you are not being closed-minded for once, which was part of the problems that Belichick couldn't end up drafting receivers well. He couldn't end up drafting his future quarterback. They did make the playoffs with Mac Jones, but then took an unfortunate turn as they made Matt Patricia their offensive coordinator. Okay? And I felt bad for Mac Jones. But then they lost the locker room. They did not end up getting better after that. And that is where you got the franchise quarterback. I love the fact that Drake May went to New England for a few reasons, because they do have a left tackle that is decent to give you some decent blocks in the pocket. You could work around your whole offensive line, and you can establish weapons for the future. So I absolutely loved it. And New England fans, get geared up, because now you can possibly end up competing, not right away, but give this a 2-3 year project. You're going to be competing with Josh Allen, with Aaron Rodgers, and with Tua and that Dolphins offense. Because if you're going to tell me you're going to go and take an offensive playmaker and you're going to be fine with quarterback play, which is so mediocre, against the Bills twice a year and the Jets twice a year and Miami twice a year, you're out of your gourd. So Drake May was, in fact, the best answer for them in the end. And the Cardinals, I think they completely aced this draft, because now they got a playmaker for Kyler Murray. They got a really good defensive lineman, and they also drafted O-line. Finally. So now Kyler Murray doesn't even have to always run for his life every time he's running out of the pocket. Every time he runs out, that's on his choice. And that's on his playmaking skills. But he does not have to feel like he's going to get roughed up every single time when there's a D-line like an Aaron Donald or a Nick Bosa, or maybe even that Seattle pass rush twice a year. Now he's going to have some sort of viability at the offensive line position. Now you're going to get protection. So I felt like you saw a lot of truths in the draft. And it's like I said, clarity in life is always the best thing for everyone. There's clarity when it comes to the business place. There's clarity when it comes to relationships and marriages. There's clarity when it comes to your personal life. Because some things you may not have known about yourself or have never unlocked the key to your inner self. That's why we have therapy. That's why we have the most important people in our corners and our sides. And that's why that we have the most important spots, especially when it comes to what do we need to address? How are we going to take this head on and fix those problems? And what is that going to look like when the season starts? I'm going to tell you, there is a lot of teams that are going to be there. I'm not going to have it tonight, but Thursday in the next episode from there, I will have my top 10 post-free agency, post-draft teams that I think could be very interesting come next season. And I think you guys are going to absolutely love it. And I cannot wait to end up putting that together for all of you guys. All right. So I ultimately do believe that the Nuggets, they play tonight. And I think this series is over. So the LA Lakers and LeBron James and Anthony Davis, I just don't think that this is honestly going to end up working out all of its best. They are not going to fire Darvin Ham. Okay, they already have made talks about extending Darvin Ham and keeping him before that news broke out. So you're not getting rid of Darvin Ham anytime soon. But the Lakers, can we stop looking for scapegoats? Can we stop looking for excuses? Let's talk about your realities. Your reality is Austin Reeves is not going to give you those exact clutch moments that you had last season when you got to the Western Conference Final. Okay? And D'Angelo Russell, it's time to put the boot on him. D'Lo is not the answer for the Lakers at all. So your only best chance is if you're the Lakers. If you keep LeBron James, I mean, the fact of the matter is, I feel like LeBron may end up pushing to get his son Bronny drafted by the Lakers because they're doing LeBron James a solid, but at the same time, it's also a referral from LeBron James so that he could play with his son in Los Angeles, in the beautiful city where there's lights, there's cameras, there's everything. But the Lake Show, I'm not seeing it. Okay? Denver is kicking your ass every single step of the way. So ultimately, this is what the league has pivoted to. Now, I'm going to touch upon the Suns here right after the break, but I've got a bone to pick with them too. But notice all around the league. Okay, once after Dirk Nowitzki and Tim Duncan retired, you knew that the new age of the NBA and basketball was starting to emerge. This era of basketball now is starting to revolve around Jokic, Giannis, Luka, and Wemby. And you're going to sprinkle in at least a little bit of some players like Anthony Edwards, who's just a dog. Okay? You could sprinkle in some of that. You could sprinkle in, good God. I'm watching Chet Holmgren and OKC, and I feel like they may end up sweeping, their opponent. So, but the Lakers right now, I'm not seeing a whole lot of heart. I'm not seeing a whole lot of effort. And to be honest, they're not sizing up well against Denver. But I think we all knew that. Because at this point, Denver's the most dominant team. Denver just knows how to balance themselves both offensively and defensively. Look at what happened when Jamal Murray hit that game-winning buzzer shot. Okay, that felt like it was the dagger. And you lose a 20-point lead, and you're looking for scapegoats, whether it's from the officials, whether it's from D'Lo. How about taking accountability for the fact that you coughed up a 20-point lead? Okay, listen, I'm watching Winning Times on Max. And to be honest, when I watch that Laker team from Magic and Kareem, I'm seeing heart, I'm seeing efforts. And don't get me wrong, they went through a funk, okay? Because they've changed 3 different coaches. Okay, one had a tragic accident, but we knew that this was working for the Lakers. In comes the interim coach who gets full time and ends up hiring Pat Riley as his right-hand man. Okay, he goes and wins, but does not know how to utilize Magic all that much. So in comes Pat Riley. They get back up on the streak, but then they end up getting swept by the Sixers. Okay, ultimately, not everything is perfect. But when you look at the whole situation with the Lakers right now, with Darvin Ham, Anthony Davis, LeBron, and D'Lo, and multiple players, this is not working. This is not working out for the Lakers. You already know that your 2 prime bigs is LeBron and AD. That is it. If you cannot get the complementary players to match up well with those 2, then the Lakers are not going to end up winning any more games. they're not even going to be ending up winning any more series matchups either. Now we know Darvin Ham is not a perfect coach. Okay. Throughout the track records from LeBron, the only coach that stayed post LeBron is Eric Spoelstra. Okay? And that's because Pat Riley has a lot of trust in Spoelstra. And he has been to the playoffs multiple times. He's won finals championships with, and that was it. He has yet to win a championship post LeBron and post D Wade. But you can admit, no matter how many times we look at the Miami Heat, they're still getting to the playoffs. Spoelstra still looks like a damn good coach. And that's that. But how many coaches has LeBron James already gone through? I mean, Frank Vogel got swept. Okay? And they were able to win a championship with him. But you count a lot of the coaches, like with Blatt, and then Ty Lue, and Eric Spoelstra, and then to Darvin Ham. How many coaches does LeBron honestly have to have? How many more changes does this have to happen? I'm not seeing the particular Lakers show than what I was used to seeing years ago. Magic and Kareem, Kobe and Shaq. I'm not seeing that same Lake show. Well, maybe it's because the NBA is pivoting a different direction. So, are you going to be ready to start pivoting through this? Because right now, I'll be honest with you, and this might end up shocking a lot of people, but the NBA does not need LeBron anymore. They don't. When I've got Luka and I've got Jokic, I've got Giannis and I've got Wemby, and I've still got a few more players on the horizon, what do I need LeBron for? It doesn't have to be so LeBron reliant in this league anymore. LeBron, more than anything, needs the NBA because depending on whether he stays with the Lakers or not, okay, he's still going to play. His whole deal is he's going to play with his son, Bronny. But that depends whether it is the Lakers or maybe it's a different team, depending on who drafts him. But that team is going to have leverage. So let's say if the Lakers drafted Bronny, LeBron is going to stay. And by that point, it's now going to be building up his son. So that by and large, LeBron can pass that torch. And like I said, he will always be a first ballot Hall of Famer. There is no denying it. But we do not have to be LeBron reliant in this league anymore. We've got too much talent now. The league is in good hands. It doesn't look like it's going to regress anytime soon, but I will admit that this one and done deal that we've kind of been stuck on now for the last few years hasn't really panned itself out, has it? So I think a lot of that has to basically getting the NIL in control. And then you've also got to end up keeping these kids for at least 2-3 years to build and develop because they are not showing off their names until their 4th, 5th year in the NBA. Not even close. Some of them are probably playing in the G League. Some of them are probably playing in international play. But we're not getting enough domestic stars. The only one that we're basically watching right now is Anthony Edwards. And believe me, I watched him in person when I watched the USA basketball team against Spain. And Anthony Edwards is a dog. He's a beast. Okay. I'm not going to say, like a lot of people basically saying that Anthony Edwards, he's the next MJ. He's next. I'm not going to do that. Anthony Edwards is his own player. But you can admit Anthony Edwards could potentially be the future of the NBA. Any one of these players are. But right now, it's more international play than anything else. It doesn't need LeBron anymore. LeBron needs more of it than anything else. So I think the Nuggets are going to honestly end this series tonight, which I definitely anticipate that happening. But you got to have a good look in the mirror if you're the Lakers, because play-in tournaments is whatever. And not only that, but you're also winning a championship in that in-season tournament. So you got that on your belt. Good for you. But play-in tournament wins does not really translate itself unless you're winning playoff series wins. Okay, and that's the big difference. But look, I'm not a LeBron hater, but I think we've kind of come to this point now in the last few years where this is what it is. So I'm not hating on LeBron, but I don't think the league is pivoting towards LeBron anymore. I think it's more pivoting towards with what these international players are doing. Okay? But you need to get the NIL in check. You need to, at the very least, have these college hoop players build and develop for 2-3 years. That's what Steph did. That's what Clay did. I mean, that's what Draymond did. That's what multiple other players have basically done. Get a second, get a third year, build and develop, and then establish yourself to be arguably one of the best basketball players on the court. Okay, ain't that what it's about? I mean, good God. Look at how many years that Damian Lillard has played at Weber State. So that's all I'm saying. I just think the league has pivoted in a different direction, and we're just not very much LeBron reliant anymore. So, yeah, it's interesting, but I think ultimately it'll be a fun watch for sure. The more and more we basically look at this as a potential look for change. But you got to admit, man, I don't see this going in any shape or form like any different. I don't. So, but you have to ask yourself. I mean, that's kind of the whole beauty behind it. So, yeah, I don't know. I haven't really caught up that much with basketball, to be honest, because I grew up watching the physical basketball years ago, but I just feel like right now, I mean, Anthony Edwards has given me a gist of physical basketball because that guy's going and taking souls left and right, and he's already taken KD's and Bradley Beal's and Devin Booker's soul. I mean, he's already done that. So, and I'll be talking more about that later on. So, I really have to be real about both the Suns, Maple Leafs, and the Winnipeg Jets. What is happening with these organizations? I will explain this a little later on here, coming up after the break. All right, folks. Well, the NBA playoffs and the NHL playoffs has been going bigger and stronger than ever. And why not continue up the action, continue up the festivity by going on to BetUS.com with hundreds of different lines to choose from the best betting expertises that have been doing this for over 30 years. BetUS is your trustworthy bet lining expertise for everything to do. Playoff basketball, playoff hockey, Major League Baseball regular season, and so much more. BetUS also has you covered on casino play for all your favorite entertainment, and all at the best chances to win. When you put $50 or more in your deposit with the link in the description, BetUS will give you 200% in bonuses with 30 risk-free bets. Think of that as a second chance shot. You know, I absolutely love second chance shots because that's going to be my chance to be a winner. So go on to BetUS.com. Get yourself into the action and get yourself into the daily contests now. BetUS.com. BetUS. The game ends.
Listen up, sports fans. Your favorite sportsbook, BetUS.com, is back for our 28th year of NFL action. With the industry's biggest sign-up bonus of up to 200%, BetUS offers our members the opportunity to cash in on all your favorite sports, including NFL, NBA, MLB, and more. We've also got hundreds of new casino games, including the coolest new European slots, and our live dealers are waiting for you at the table. Sign up at BetUS.com today to get into the action. BetUS, where the game begins.
Looking for a show with the best takes and opinions? Want a show with the best coverage around the world of sports? Jam-packed with an all-star interview lineup? Then the best place to find it all, sports and entertainment, is right here. Join Jake Silva on the Snake Sports Talk Show, presented by SeatGeek and BetUS. Weeknights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific on Sports Wave Network.
Check out the Con Man live on the Sports Corner, coming to a screen near you, giving you the greatest stories from basketball legends you've never seen before. Sharing their glory, building the toughness, and how they show off their swag. But only one man knows all that, and that's the Con Man. Join Michael Conceição, the Con Man, at the Sports Corner, Fridays at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 Pacific on Sports Wave Network.
You know, I started kind of thinking about it over on the break, but I got to be honest. So, the Minnesota Timberwolves have swept the Phoenix Suns. Well, boo-hoo for Phoenix. We know this was not going to turn out to be the series at all. I want to be completely clear and honest. Kevin Durant has gone into regression mode when it comes to putting the team on your shoulders when it matters most, and also holding other players accountable. Like, I don't know, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, $150 million combined. And the Phoenix Suns got swept. Folks, I think we're kind of coming to the realization that super teams have not always been the pivotal factor in the NBA. I mean, look, Minnesota's got Anthony Edwards, Rudy Gobert, and they've got Karl Anthony Towns. But most of this is because they've got a future bright star in Anthony Edwards. I watched him play before. The guy's an absolute killer. Okay, he even makes it clear, makes it known. He's out there going and taking souls. He's a guy that, honestly, I think that if you look at it from the remainder of the playoffs, I think Minnesota matches up well against Denver. That may be the only team that does, because Oklahoma City, even though I love SGA and I love Chet Holmgren, but that's a young team. Okay, and they are building something very, very interesting. So we can admit that. But when you look at Minnesota and their times of possession, not to mention their shot efficiency and how many times they're spreading the ball, Phoenix looked lost. Okay, and when Kevin Durant has to be the star, he's nowhere to be found. And Kevin Durant, even though I'm getting the points, I'm getting the minutes, I'm not getting the leadership, which is part of Phoenix's downfall. And Frank Vogel, I like him as a coach, but this is a disaster. But I think when you truthfully look at Kevin Durant, Oklahoma City and Golden State was his best years. His best years. Because OKC, I had a young Russell Westbrook. I had James Harden. I had Kendrick Perkins. I had an established team. And this team was the team I am built around. But even after leaving OKC to go to Golden State, how would you not want to end up playing with Steph Curry or Klay Thompson or Draymond or Steve Kerr? That's arguably one of the best teams and one of the best cultures I would ever want to be around. That's like basically saying that you're going to basically take a no-name company over a potential Fortune 500 company. Sure, you may end up starting small, but the benefits, the insurances, not to mention the build for success is unlimited. The roads, the possibilities are endless. Where in some companies, they'll be like, well, we'll nab you up onto the best of your abilities. Well, then what's my stability? What's my bill? Phoenix, honestly, it feels a lot like it's fool's gold. Okay? I thought this was going to work out with Bradley Beal. I was wrong. Okay? Kevin Durant, like him as a player, but cannot stand the fact that he has to basically move aside, not be the leader, not hold his team accountable, and that drives me nuts. And you know what? For that, Minnesota deserved to win the series. They deserve to move on to the next round. If you're not going to play quality basketball that you're so known and used to playing, what's the point? There is no sense of urgency. Not to mention, too, I get it with Bradley Beal's injury. We knew this ahead of time. We understand that this was not going to be the easiest thing at all when the season started. I get it. But to be honest with you, I'd be making moves. Because right now you're trusting heavily on Devin Booker, who, by the way, when I watched the Suns, when they made it all the way to the finals against Milwaukee, that was a completely different team. And Chris Paul, say what you want, Chris Paul was vocal. Chris Paul is a natural-born leader and got the best out of Devin Booker. But the only unfortunate thing is they hit inconsistencies when it mattered most. And that's not good. Whereas for Phoenix, right now, with Kevin Durant, I'm not getting any urgency. I'm not getting any juice. I'm not even getting any sort of efforts that shows me, that tells me they want to be here. And so instead, they get swept. Now they're basically saying, well, was it the coach? No, I think a lot of this had to be dealing with the skeletons in Kevin Durant's closet. Because since you left, great organizations like Oklahoma City and Golden State, because you wanted to play with your best bud in Brooklyn, and then eventually demand a trade out of Brooklyn because you realized that this was a dumpster fire just waiting to explode. You then go to Phoenix, and I thought this was honestly going to work out for the best, but unfortunately, it's the same old stuff. Look, I could be critical about LeBron and the Lakers, but remember when we had this conversation about who's better, Kevin Durant or LeBron? clearly LeBron is the better player than Kevin Durant. In fact, KD, from his athletic abilities, from his shot capabilities, and his availability on the floor, you can make the argument he was very talented. However, KD could not win those championships alone. Nobody else could. Okay? Once you got to Golden State, you already had a reigning championship with Steph, with Clay, with Draymond. You already had that. But then you go into Golden State, you win two more finals championships. Probably could have won a third. But once you won two, and then this whole leakage of, him and Draymond, there's a scuffle. Draymond is basically putting Kevin Durant in his place. And Kevin got prickly and sensitive. Okay, and it happens to a lot of players. Hell, did you think about, and Steve Kerr is very much a perfect example of this. You think he held back a lot of those comments when it came to him and Michael Jordan both getting into it with Phil Jackson and that Chicago Bulls team that you knew was not going to be the same dynasty moving forward? I mean, good God, Michael socked him in the face. But he's not complaining. He's telling you, look, this was physical basketball. And we were dealing with Detroit several times, who was throwing elbows, who was basically tripping us, who were basically shoving us to the floor. Okay? You're not having any of that. But for Kevin Durant, for God's sakes, when am I going to start getting the stardom? When am I going to start getting the leader? I don't think I'm ever going to. I feel like at this point in Kevin Durant's career, I feel like this is far beneath him. I like Kevin Durant, but the leadership quality is not there. Clearly shows. And I don't think he could ever lead a team to a finals unless he has a great team around him. Harsh, sad reality. I understood the first time when he won the championship. He wanted to go and win a ring. I can respect that. Many players want to go and win a ring. If it was championships and it was rings all for LeBron, he probably wouldn't have stayed with the Lakers. He probably wouldn't have dealt with all that stuff in Cleveland, let alone get smacked around by Golden State. Hell, he probably would have joined Steph Curry and won multiple rings, and then they would have been the most hated team in the NBA. But that's not LeBron's path. LeBron's path is now, he's mogul, wants to win a championship, but he wants to play alongside with his son, Bronny. Whereas Kevin Durant, what is your end game? Is it winning championships? Is it playing with your best buds? Because if that's the case, I mean, arguably, you can honestly say, I think Kevin Durant and Kawhi Leonard almost feel like the same player to some degree. You can plug them in to a roster that's an all-star roster that's ready to win now. Like, look at Kawhi when he went to Toronto. That was a plug-in player, and they caught fire, and they won a championship. Kevin Durant, you put him in an already great organization, and they win 2 championships. Can't we just admit that those two are literally the best plug-in-and-play players? Something to consider. But I don't think Kevin Durant is going to honestly stay in Phoenix. I think this is kind of the end of the road. This is kind of the end of the line here for Kevin Durant. But I just don't see the leadership quality. I think that is far beneath him. And I don't even think he wants to be that leader. I just think he's honestly going to strive for something more. So, but again, you know, you could say what you will, but I like Kevin Durant, but this is not going to work for Phoenix. And I think ultimately he's probably going to end up either signing with somebody else or he's going to end up getting traded. Whatever the case may be, I think he's a plug-in-and-play player, much like I feel like Kawhi Leonard is, but he is not a necessity. And I think that is starting to get the best of Kevin Durant. Time now for the news.
This is the Hot Press.
All right, so got some interesting news stories all in the world of sports. So some news in the NFL. So the Kansas City Chiefs, as you know, back-to-back reigning Super Bowl champions. We know that Travis Kelce has been around in the news for quite a long time since he got together with, Taylor Swift and then winning back-to-back championships. So the Kansas City Chiefs, they've already extended Andy Reid and Brett Veach and multiple personnel in the front office. And now the Kansas City Chiefs, which I do believe this could be the last and final contract for Travis Kelce, but they have signed him to a 2 years, $34.25 million extension with $17 million guaranteed for the rest of, or for this season and for most of the rest to be guaranteed on the third day of the 25 league year. So Travis Kelce, as you know, most receptions in postseason history, moving ahead of Jerry Rice with 165 catches. But he is definitely he's definitely the pivotal factor of that Chiefs offense. And you could totally see right now with how Patrick Mahomes, how Andy Reid end up viewing him. So, again, his brother, Jason Kelce, he's already retired, but Travis Kelce, I think this is potentially his last hurrah with this contract. And good for him. And the fact that he's going to get the last contract potentially in his career, why not? I mean, you're already a rock star and a superstar as it is in the league, and not to mention in Kansas City and all over the news now. So why not go and get the big bucks? And I think the Hunt family, they're totally fine with it. They feel like now this is the last potential contract before they got to address with somebody else. Now, they did get a tight end, by the way, with Jared Wiley. I actually liked that. Pick. That was probably the most underrated pick from Kansas City, along with Jaden Hicks. But I think ultimately that was telling you they're going to build up their tight end, and they are very much going to go in a different direction. But in the end, Travis Kelce is arguably going to be a Hall of Famer. There's no doubt about that. I think ultimately he's one of the best clutch tight ends we have right now in the league, but good for him. All right, so breaking news that actually just came out. So the Las Vegas Raiders, I think, had a great draft. They had a really, really good draft. I don't know how good that they'll be with their offense, but however, they just got announced just a few minutes ago before I ended up going on air. But the Dallas Cowboys, former wide receiver Michael Gallup has planned to sign with the Las Vegas Raiders for a 1 year, up to $3 million is the contract. And so he will likely be the number 3 receiver behind Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers. Not a bad option. The Cowboys ended up releasing him in March 15th to open up $9.5 million in the salary cap. And Gallup initially, 28-year-old, had permission to seek a trade, which it turned out it was just preluded to his release. So Michael Gallup, after the injury, he had caught 73 passes for 842 yards, 6 touchdowns, and did not record a 100-yard game in a regular in the regular season in 22 and in 23. So I think he's a real good third option. I don't see him as potentially as an X factor for the Raiders moving forward, but that doesn't seem to matter. I think the Raiders, since after this draft, and like I said, I will have my top 10 in the next episode that I put on, but the Raiders know that they've got a real good offense. Okay, so after drafting Brock Bowers and you've got Michael Mayer, you've got, at the very least, a different look of an offense. Now, it depends on the quarterback play with Gardner Minshew and with Aiden O'Connell, but at least they've got a third receiving option after they released Hunter Renfrow, which, to be honest, I mean, Hunter Renfrow still on the market. I'm not entirely sure who might end up signing him, but there are still some wide receivers that are up and in this market. But I think the Raiders, what they're telling you is they are not in desperate need of wide receivers since Jacoby Myers has hit, and you've got a star in Devontae Adams. So maybe adding in that third receiving option is not a bad idea for $3 million. You could go potentially get a receiver next year, but they're not in dire need. I think the Raiders, I don't think the Raiders are going to initially be great out of the gate. I think this is a whole project. So with that being said, go get a third option. Go and get somebody that can honestly end up fitting in with this offense. It's not a bad idea. And I think the whole perspective of this with Antonio Pierce and with Tom Telesco is you can never not have enough offense. So you can build it up with the best affordable price, and you can end up in a better position. So I think that if you gave me the Raiders with 6 to 7 wins next season, there's some hope. So if you give me that, I think the Raiders are on the right spot. They're in the right mindset, they're in the right idea, and I think with as far as their future is concerned, I think they're in the right place. So it will be very, very interesting. All right, final story. We're going into the NBA. So struggling Luka Doncic. So right now, the Dallas Mavericks in the playoffs right now, just to basically look at everything. The Dallas Mavericks and the LA Clippers, right now the series is tied 2-2. And Luka Doncic ended up going on in the media and basically spoke out and said that he needs to help Kyrie Irving more after the Mavericks' previous loss in Game 4 to a 116-111 loss to the Clippers. So Irving scored all 40 of his points after LA went up 31 midway through the second quarter, and that was including the acrobatic layup over 3 Clipper defenders, giving Dallas the lead with 2:15. Doncic has struggled as he finished with 29 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, but shot poorly, 10 of 24 from the floor and 1 of 8 from the three-point range. And it was exploited. So what Doncic ended up having to explain after that was, I just got to help him more. I feel like I'm letting him down, so I got to be there. I got to help him more. He's given everything that he has, and he's been amazing for us the whole series. Doncic went on to say, it's hurting, obviously, but it shouldn't be an excuse, man. Just came out and a little sloppy, so I got to be way better than that. So, I mean, this is an interesting series altogether with, the Mavs and the Clippers, but, it's like I said before. The Mavericks, what they lack is that they lack defensive capabilities. And I like their pieces. But ultimately, you kind of knew this was going to be the fact with Luka Doncic and with Kyrie Irving. I was like, I did not see this working out. But multiple sources and multiple people have told me that they like him They respect, they at the very least respect this whole idea. So who knows what's going to happen with Dallas? I mean, but if it gets to the point where the Clippers end up moving on in this series, can we just admit this is not going to end up looking pretty? This is not going to end up looking good. I think from that initial standpoint, I think Dallas could very much be in trouble because I'm going to be watching what Game 5 is going to end up looking like. Because if I've got that kind of performance like I did in Game 4, where you're kind of forcing up a bunch of shots and you're 1 for 8 beyond the arc, that's not going to be good. So even if you gave me 4 or 5 shots behind the arc, then there's something. But I think Luka Doncic, you got to be calm, you got to relax, you got to contain yourself, pull yourself together. And I think in the end, who knows what's going to happen with Dallas. But it's a hell of a series, but let's see what Game 5 really does give us for all of us. All right, there you are with the news.
This is the Hot Press.
Okay, so I've waited to basically, speak upon this. So the Stanley Cup playoffs have been absolutely tremendous and very electrifying. Tonight, we've got the Dallas Stars and the Vegas Golden Knights. Right now, the Knights are up 2-1, and they're in Game 4 at home before potentially headed back to Dallas. So, and tonight, right now, Florida is up 2-1 against the Tampa Bay Lightning. They could potentially be ending this series. So they're, the Lightning are facing elimination, but right now, Florida is just absolutely jam-packed with offense, and they are on a tear. But I have 2 teams that I really, really need to hold accountable for a lot of their playoff performances. That's the Toronto Maple Leafs, and that's the Winnipeg Jets. Listen, Canada altogether, as a country, Canada has not won the Stanley Cup in over 31 years. Okay? Most of that is because I think a lot of our players, a lot of our domestic players have been built up for a lot of big-time moments. I mean, you look at a lot of the potential stars that Colorado has, from Cale Makar and Nathan McKinnon and multiple other superstars. You saw what Vegas is basically doing, what Florida has basically built up. I mean, Connor Verhaeghe looks like an absolute stud. Okay, and he's been like that even last season. And you've got Sam Reinhart, who's scored over 50 goals. Okay, let's start with Toronto first. I think you have got to rip the Band-Aid off with Mitch Marner, and you've got to rip the Band-Aid off with Sheldon Keefe. This is unacceptable. And right now, once again, the Toronto Maple Leafs are close to facing elimination against the Bruins again in the first round. John Tavares, Mitch Marner, William Nylander, and Austin Matthews. Your core 4. How many times are we going to end up watching this? And how many times are we going to basically look for excuses and look for scapegoats? This is not working. If I have to watch Mitch Marner every time look lost, look completely off his game. I mean, that last game for Toronto, I'm getting Austin Matthews and I'm getting William Nylander screaming at Marner on the bench. And Tyler Bertuzzi's basically sitting there like, I may not end up wanting to come back to the circus. I don't blame him. Austin Matthews is having a career year, over 60 goals. So I just think, honestly, and this has been the narrative with Mitch Marner for like the last, 5-6 seasons. Marner is not built for the playoffs. I think you could tell, and you could just see from his body language, and you could just tell from a lot of his play. Why is it every time when the puck has gone his way, number one, he's given up on efforts to basically protect the puck, pass it efficiently, or you're setting up for deflections. All of these have been inconsistent. William Nylander is having a hell of a playoff run. Austin Matthews is clearly the franchise star in Toronto. This is unacceptable. I'm surprised that even Sheldon Keefe has remained in this building. But, Toronto, they've got bigger problems, and I don't think this is going to get any better. And you're still paying John Tavares of his contract. Now, I'm not throwing him out there just because. But all I'm saying is, you've loaded up on offense. You still got Morgan Riley, and you still have a bunch of core players on defense. But we can admit the goaltending has been below average. We can admit the chemistry has been inconsistent. And listen, I don't want to hear excuses. Okay, last year, you beat Tampa, you beat Tampa Bay in the first round. And you acted like you won the Stanley Cup, and then you got your asses handed to you by Florida. And Florida went on to go to the Cup. Toronto was never going to end up cleaning the skeletons out of their closet unless they actually do something about this. Mitch Marner is not my cup of tea when it comes to the playoffs. I don't care what your stats are in this regular season. If that does not translate into you being a playoff caliber forward, I don't want to hear it. Okay? Because everybody is executing their roles. They're executing their assignments. Nylander's having a hell of a playoff run, and now it's going to be wasted. Austin Matthews is he's the pillar of this organization. He's not happy. John Tavares, the captain, he has shown up in multiple ways. But Mitch Marner, good God. I've seen this. I've seen enough of this. Because this is not working. I have to literally look at this every time. Look at this. In the regular season, this past season, it's 69 games he's played. Okay? 26 goals, 59 assists, 85 points with a plus minus of 21. And then in this postseason, 4 games, 1 goal, 1 assist, 2 points, plus minus of 1. And he's getting all the ice time. This is clearly not working. He is not proven, and he has not shown me to be a playoff caliber player. Austin Matthews, more than anything else, I could show you William Nylander's points right now. Okay? He's having a heck of a playoff run. Okay? And Nylander, just because of the injury and all the rest of it, he has still been able to show that he can play in these situations. Tyler Bertuzzi, if anything else, he's already gotten 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points, and he's shown up in a lot of these spots. But and Max Domi, by the way, he's shown up in spots. 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points. So everybody is doing their job. John Tavares, 4 games, 1 goal, 1 point. Not as great, but then when you look at Austin Matthews, he's already gotten 1 goal, 2 assists, and 3 points. This is not good. I've been saying this now several times about the Toronto Maple Leafs. This is a disaster. This is honestly something that's not going to work, and I think you honestly got to blow this thing up. I'm not getting rid of Matthews, and I'm not getting rid of William Nylander, but for God's sakes, something's got to give. And I don't think Mitch Marner fits all this. I think at the same time, too, if I'm Toronto, why am I still sticking around with Sheldon Keefe? It feels like that they're playing scared hockey against Boston. And Boston is much more physical. They've gotten much more offense because they have Brad Marchand and David Pastrnak that are scoring up all these goals. And they've got Linus Allmark and Jeremy Swayman. They barely have any goaltending. So, unlucky, call it whatever you will, but they have not gotten past this first round. And I don't think they ever will. I think this will honestly be a curse for Toronto until they get this right. Okay. One other team, too, I've got to basically put up is the Winnipeg Jets. So, this series between Winnipeg and Colorado, as I've said, I went off on the first game because I thought that was just atrocious. I felt like that was a horrible game. The fact that it was overly scored and like no team played any quality defense. But right now, Colorado is red hot. And they have scored now like over 20 plus goals. Connor Hellebuck, by the way, is playing an absolute horrible performance. He's already 1-3 with a goals against average at .522. This is a Vezina Trophy finalist. And he got pulled because in every single one of these games that they have played now, okay, in this whole series, Colorado's been kicking their ass. They've given up 6 goals in game 1. They've given up 5 goals in game 2, 6 goals in game 3, and 5 goals in game 4. That is almost near a total of over 20 goals given up by their top goaltender. That is unacceptable. And their defense has played atrocious. Colorado's just kicking their ass left and right. They are scoring off of them. And I've said it before, they're a hyper-aggressive scoring offense. The only thing that concerns me about Colorado was their inconsistency when it comes to overtimes and when it comes to crucial plays. That's the only time they give me serious issues. But I think Georgie has finally found himself. He's starting to play quality hockey, and he's playing better than what Connor Hellebuck is. I don't know if that's because of the hefty contract that seems to be getting to him. I don't know if it's, the weight of the playoffs on his shoulders, whatever it is. I don't know what it is. But this is atrocious. And in the last game, he got pulled for Laurent Brossoit. So, this is your Vezina Trophy finalist? Sure as hell does not look like it. And Connor Hellebuck, I know, is better than that. But we know Winnipeg signed him and Mark Scheifele to long-term deals. But if I'm Rick Bowness, I'm pissed at this. Because that is not the way, and you're going to be, for the second straight year, you're going to be eliminated in the first round. I love Connor Hellebuck. I really do. But it's like I said about William Nylander, if you're or Mitch Marner, sorry. I've said the same thing about Marner. If you're going to honestly not show up in crucial spots, and this is what separates the boys from the men. Regular season play doesn't matter. Stanley Cup playoffs is arguably one of the hardest settings right now in major sports. It is. Next to the NFL playoffs, the NBA playoffs, and the postseason in baseball. It's arguably the hardest setting because you're playing 7 games each series. And the goaltenders are getting bruised, they're getting welted, they're getting every single puck shot at them, and they're having to defend all of them. I think arguably when you look at goaltending right now, I mean, Sergei Bobrovsky, you can make the argument, has been playing great goaltending. Igor Shesterkin has been playing great goaltending. The Rangers are moving forward after they just swept the Capitals. You're not going to play like that against New York. You're not going to play like that against Florida or Vegas or Colorado. So I think honestly, I was wrong about this. I had Winnipeg potentially winning this series in 7. But now it looks like this series will end in 5. Because this is not the performance you want from your leading netminder, not to mention the defense has disappeared. Offense is not as hyper aggressive as it was when they got Tyler Toffoli. I feel like he's probably going to be hitting the road after this. Usually this is what happens with most players. So Winnipeg has been put on notice. But they lose, that's an embarrassing way to go down. And Colorado, even though they were on the hottest streak throughout the regular season, but the thing of it was, coming out of the gate in game 1, I felt like both goaltenders played worse. But Georgie came out. He was pissed. Jared Bednar had a plan. And everybody else started clicking. So I think Winnipeg's in trouble. But they get eliminated for the second straight year in the first round. Something has got to give. And who knows? There's going to be a lot of question marks in this offseason, but I just truly believe this is not what a Vezina Trophy finalist is supposed to look like in the playoffs. I mean, I'm looking at Sergei Bobrovsky. I'm looking at Logan Thompson. I'm looking at Igor Shesterkin. I'm looking at Jake Ottinger. I'm looking at really good goaltenders that right now are playing better than Connor Hellebuyck. I mean, come on. I understand Canadian teams are dying to win the cup. But you're not going to win a cup by this kind of performance. You're just not going to do it. And I think arguably this postseason right now, the best goaltenders, and I'll name them off for you, okay, that are playing better than Connor Hellebuyck is Jeremy Swayman, Igor Shesterkin, Thatcher Demko before he went down with the injury. Casey DeSmith has been playing all right. Frederik Andersen, Semyon Varlamov, and Logan Thompson. And you could add in Stuart Skinner and Jake Ottinger and Jussi Saros. Andrei Vasilevsky and Alex Georgiev are all playing better than Connor Hellebuyck. So what does that tell you? I mean, that's embarrassing. So Winnipeg has to figure this out. They don't end up figuring this out. It'll be a little too late, but I would not be surprised if this ends up in 5. I think Colorado has found their number. I think we might end up seeing the Avs in the second round with the way that things have been playing. But Rick Bowness, this is a sour taste in my mouth, and I would be feeling the same way with Connor Hellebuyck. And I mean, something has to be said. I mean, Mark Scheifele, I'm sure, will definitely be vocal by the end of this thing, but they're gonna have some serious questions come the offseason. This is not looking good at all for, the Winnipeg Jets. You're not going to play like this amongst many of the teams in the Western Conference. Hell, even for a lot of the tough teams in the Eastern Conference. You're going to get smacked around. You're going to basically get shots thrown at you left and right. And I thought Connor Hellebuyck honestly played better than that. But I'm wrong. And that's fine. I mean, kudos to the Avs, because they're playing with a hot hand. But that's just unbelievably horrible. And that's why I've said Toronto and Winnipeg, I've got a bone to pick with both of them. But this is the reality of the Stanley Cup playoffs. There's no room for excuses. Regular season play doesn't matter. You either are going to be crashing into the net, you either are going to be making clutch saves that are dependent on your team, you're going to be vocal, and you really got to end up stopping on defense. I have seen none of those from both those teams. And once again, Toronto's probably going to get eliminated again in the first round, and so will the Winnipeg Jets. So, sorry, I got to be honest with you. I'm America's honesty mine. That's the title I hold. And when I get very critical and I get very honest and blunt, people will think, you're just a hater. No, I'm not. I watch these games too. I watch all these performances. I watch exactly with what happens, and I watch body language. That is not a playoff team. That doesn't look like a playoff team. So you got to figure it out, man. Because the playoffs, totally different. It's a totally different view, totally different vibe, and something has to give. That's all it comes down to. But I feel like Colorado's going to finish this thing in 5, and I think Boston is also going to be finishing up and mopping Toronto as well. Toronto's probably going to be missing another year of trying to get to the Cup, and the curse continues for that organization. But I think you seriously have to rip some Band-Aids off. But that's me personally. All right, folks, that's going to do it here for me on the Snake Sports Talk Show. Appreciate all of you guys for being here tonight. Show is sponsored by BetUS.com. BetUS, while the games are going on, playoff action between NBA, NHL, and regular season play from Major League Baseball. Get into the action with BetUS.com. BetUS, where the game begins. And also by SeatGeek.com. Don't lose your seat today on the biggest stage of your next event. Whether it's going to the playoff games, because I know a lot of people here in the Denver area, they are definitely going to watch the ads in Ball Arena. Get your tickets up on there while they last with your best seat at the most affordable price. Go and watch your favorite artist at your favorite concert venue, and also maybe some comedy shows, art shows, whatever your interests are. SeatGeek has you covered on all of that. Go online to SeatGeek.com, download it on your mobile device through Google Play and the App Store, and use promo code SNAKESPORTS for $20 off of your first purchase of your first ticket. We're going to do it here for me, guys. From all of us here, the Snake Sports Talk Show, Jake Silva signing off, and we will see you guys on the next episode of the Snake Sports Talk Show. See you later.